Autistic Gamer 7 and welcome back to another video here on the channel. As you can tell, it is another speed build video here, but this one is a little bit different from some of them, some of the more recent ones I've been doing. This one actually I ended up doing full CC because I haven't done, the way I space them out on my channel, it may not seem like a really long time. I can't actually fully remember though which one was the last full CC build I did, but this one is full CC because I just sort of wanted to do one. And also when I created like this group of, like, it was a household and they're basically living together but in more of like a apartment situation, but not necessarily an apartment. I can't remember what they're called, but like you have a house and it looks like a regular house, but when you go inside, every bedroom belongs to someone else and everyone sort of pays for their bedrooms plus a little extra to accommodate for like the living spaces. But that's what this sort of ends up being. It does look like a regular normal family house on the outside, but in reality everyone's sort of doing their part to pay the bills for their room and everything. And I had just like made this group and I actually really wanted to play them, so I was like, I really want a house for them, but my main save, which is where I moved them. If you watch the Fame Trio, you may notice that the Fame Trio's house is right next to them. So these people are right next to the Fame Trio. But I am slowly making my main save be nothing but my builds. Most of the part I ended up building them with no CC and then adding CC when I add them into the main save, but I was already in my main save and I still had my CC in the game and I really just wanted to go ahead and start playing them as soon as possible. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a CC build. I haven't done one in a while, so why not? So this is what I am doing. I have a full-on CC build. I haven't had, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's been a while and I don't know if I've done a full house. I think I've done honestly, the last one, I think I showed Sylveon's house last. That or Vaporeon's was built with full CC. Well, Vaporeon's was built with no CC, and then I had a video where I transformed that one into a CC build. But as far as starting with CC, I think Sylveon's has been the last one, which I feel like has been a while. But yeah, I honestly, like, I have got to the point where I actually can do really well without CC, and I don't mind not using CC in the build process, but I still do prefer CC in some ways just because there's like so many more options, especially clutter wise. I have so much clutter CC, it's not even funny, but to me, clutter and those type of things give character to the build. So whether it's non-CC clutter or actual CC clutter, I want clutter because it gives personality. It gives a sense of like who's living there and such. This house has 5 bedrooms and technically 5 bathrooms. One of them sort of connected to the bedrooms. I do cut out actually all of the bathrooms in this case because the one bathroom that's even connected to the one bedroom isn't really that big, and I didn't make it really much special compared to a normal bathroom. I just sort of did it like a regular normal bathroom. And to me, the bathrooms are some of the most boring parts of the build. So I did get rid of the bathrooms. But I had a lot of fun with this build and actually using the CC. The only thing is that using CC actually ends up making me take longer than if I wasn't going to be using CC. Partially just because the simple fact that I have a lot of CC and I don't use just CC. I do use stuff that comes from the expansion packs in the games. So I actually have to sort out through all of my items from all the expansions and game packs and stuff packs along with my CC, so just the simple scrolling through to try to look and find things can take a long process, and then also just deciding on what I want to actually do. And for instance, like right now I'm doing the layout and I actually end up changing the size of the house because after a while, like, yeah, I'm technically meaning this house to be for multiple people, but this is on the lower end of Del Sol Valley, so I didn't want the house to be like too big, and it was honestly getting too big. And you may notice at first it was only like 4 bedrooms, and then I changed it to 5 bedrooms because like I for surely knew I'd only moved one of the Sims officially into this spot. at the time of starting this video. I think at some point I actually add most of the others. I can't fully remember. It may have already happened. Because I think I had 3 parts of this build, and I started one, and then I remember at some point I do add all the rest of them, except for maybe the 5th one, because I hadn't fully decided on everyone that was going to be coming in to the build just yet, and how many it was. At the end, like I said, it is going to end up being 5. If you can't tell, I apologize for my nose. It's running. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and my nose is wanting to run. I can't help it. I don't know why it does this sometimes. But it will go away about 2-3 hours after I wake up. But right now, I gotta deal with the nose. So I may sound a little bit weird or sniffly. So basically, to give like a quick backstory on the Sims living here, because I actually can do this time because I know exactly who is living here. They are 5 young adults who are wanting to actually also try to become famous, but they're also just now moving out on their own. So to some of them, it's not like a big precedence. They're not as urgent to try to earn fame like the Fame Trio is, but it's sort of like a notion, like just a whim. Like they're like, maybe I could try to become famous off of my hobbies and stuff like that. Sort of just, a random thought. So this is what they've sort of wanted to try, and they've all started moving in together to find this place to try to get a cheap but nice place. One of them, the one that lives in the downstairs bedroom, is named Jace. He is sort of more into music and like the musical side of things. So that will be what he possibly can try to get famous with. The other guys are going to be Liam and Jax. Liam is an actor while Jax is an athlete. And then there is 2 girls, Dylan and Carrie. Carrie is also an actor like Liam. And then Dylan is more of an artist, but she's going down the freelancer path of it. And honestly, I have actually got to play these Sims since making this build some, and it's one of my favorite households to play right now, so it's sort of like the one that I'm playing behind the scenes, which I am thinking about doing like a Townie Life series on, because in some ways my Townie Life series is partially so you could see some of the other Sims that I have going around, and sometimes you could see some behind the scenes stuff for my other series that are occurring during that time span. But it's also sort of like a current household type video that a lot of people do, because usually the ones that I pick to do a Townie Life series on, unless I ask like you all first, it's usually the household or one of the households that I'm playing a lot myself off screen. So okay, sorry about that. May have to cut out a weird section there, but I had to go do something. But yeah, I was talking about this is basically, a lot of times my Townie Life series basically ends up being like my current household that a lot of people do. But anyway, yeah, and most of the house I ended up deciding that was probably mainly decorated by Carrie. Just because the more of the personality that I think Carrie has, I feel like she would have been the one that would have been the more eager one to decorate the house and do stuff like that. And though Dylan is the very artsy one, and her and Jace are probably the most creative two in the house, I think neither one of them would have been necessarily been the main ones to decorate. I think Dylan would have definitely personalized her room a lot, but she wouldn't have cared so much for the rest of the house, especially since it wasn't like her house. It's more like an apartment living type situation. So she definitely probably wouldn't have really bothered with like extreme decorating the place, and just the style that I sort of wanted to go for in the bottom part of the build definitely to me seems more like Carrie probably did a lot of the decorating. But I had a lot of fun with this, especially since I got to use the CC, because a lot of times when I'm decorating with CC, it's actually off camera because it's the builds that I do for the channel, but I've changed it and put it into my main save and started decorating it for my actual own personal gameplay or for a household that is going to be recorded in later on. So half the time I don't actually get to show y'all any of the process of me doing a CC build or decoration, so definitely was a lot of fun to sort of do that for a change for a recording and actually start from scratch and still be using the CC. Don't worry, I won't be making this a habit because I know with CC it's really hard to download a lot of the stuff or have a lot of the stuff, and some people just don't want CC in their games, partially just depending on your computer. Sometimes certain computers can't handle it. I know I have so much CC in my game that my even my game is like, and I have a pretty powerful computer. I don't have like one of the most powerful computers, but I have a pretty good computer for all this stuff, and I've actually added quite a few things into it. I've added RAM and like a new internal hard drive as of recently. I have external hard drives that constantly stay plugged up to it. So it has a lot going on, and it's gotten a new motherboard as of recently, a new power supply. It's gotten a little bit of a lot of new things in it as of recent. So it can handle it, but it does, if you watch my recordings, sometimes it does mess up. And sometimes it's these certain mods or CC, like I learn over time that certain things actually are what's causing it. Right now I'm running into an issue that I think's with the Slice of Life mod, but because ever since I added it is when I started having the issue, but I really don't want to get rid of the Slices Life mod, and not many other people are having this issue, and I don't really know why I am, because I don't have too many, like, script mods. I don't have many of those type of mods. I have a few really tiny ones that extend the parties, and extends, like, the Sims that you can invite to the parties, and MCC, and Slices Life. I have, one that affects, like, the townie spawning. I think that's about it. And then some events, I guess. I don't know if those would be considered along with the script mods or not. And some careers. But I don't, like I said, I don't know. I assume those are probably with the script mods. I don't know how CC fully works, but I have more of cast and build and buy CC than I have anything. Just those two alone by themselves are way more than I have the other type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I really don't want to get rid of the Splices Life because I actually like most of the stuff that comes with it. The only thing that bothers me is sometimes my Sims' eyes change because some of them have custom content eyes that is through the face paint, and that's only because the look of the Sim, none of the eyes that I have none of the default eyes, or even now that I have some that are in the custom content eye colors, they don't really necessarily fit the vibe of the Sim that I'm going for. But anyway, this is totally getting off topic from this build. I did definitely try to go with a different color scheme in each room, but it somehow looked good next to the room because, as you can tell, the entryway / laundry room and the living room and the kitchen / dining room are all open to each other. I think the kitchen probably has one of the more standout styles because it's got that orange sort of in there, but I actually bring blues into the kitchen as well. So from the entryway to the living room, the entryway is mainly yellows, greens, those sort of colors. And then the greenish colors blend into the living room, but they start adding blues and things like that. And then when I come into the kitchen, it starts adding some darker colors, but then the blues still come back. So I wanted that blend going through the rooms, but I also wanted them to be individual. Because since it is like, it's not a complete open concept, I don't think. When it's like archways, but I don't think that's considered complete open concept. I think open concept is like literally no walls or anything, but this is actually archways that just have a hole in the wall, basically, is what an archway is. So I think that's not really considered open concept, but it's close to open concept. And I wanted it to be able to blend, but still be able to tell individual rooms. So, like, if you're a guest in this house, I want you to be able to tell when you've left one room and entered another room if you're not paying attention to, like, some of the walls. So, like, oh, I am now in the living room. But, yeah. And I do these shelf-like things in place of the cabinets. I couldn't, as you can see, I sort of put shelves up and then I went away from the shelves. I do end up putting shelves back, but I end up trying to decide which shelves I want in place of the cabinets, because the way that the cabinets sometimes are with the windows, it's really hard for me to actually use cabinets. Now, sometimes depending on how much the cabinet hangs over the window, I'll let it slide, because a lot of times, personally, from the outside, I don't pay attention that much if only a little part of the window is blocked by the cabinets. I notice a lot of my builds, the kitchen is close to walls that has windows. Oddly enough, the way my kitchen is, there's a lot of windows in my kitchen, but it works out that most of the cabinets are not where the windows are. And it's sort of interesting. I've been meaning to actually try to build my real life house in Sims, but as you can tell, I haven't got around to it. If I do it, I will do that one as a full CC build, just because I would actually want to try to get a little bit more detailed with that one, and I think with the CC that I have, I could do a whole lot better with it. But my house is definitely an interesting house to build. With the terrain tools, it might make it easier for me because I want to include the land where the greenhouses and stuff is. So that's going to be an interesting task to honestly build, because I do really bad with proportions on lots. That's my, like, weak suit, is doing proportions. I tend to make things too big compared to what they really need to be. If you've watched my builds and stuff like that, you may know that I do a lot of bigger builds. I'm better at bigger builds, but at the same time, I wish I was good with smaller builds, because smaller builds sometimes look more lived in because you only have a limited amount of space to actually try to put a lot of stuff in. I'm better at the bigger builds. So at this point, I am gonna start doing all the bedrooms, and you're gonna start seeing more of the styles sort of coming through. I'd say probably the one that has the least amount of decoration and style in their room is going to be Jack's room. It's going to be upstairs. It's going to be the one that has red in it. They all have a color scheme as well, but Jack's is the athlete. He is the one that, especially since they're living in Del Sol Valley doesn't usually get too freezing cold except for, like, later in the day, like at nighttime. So, and still, it doesn't, like, snow or much in Del Sol Valley. Like, Del Sol Valley, Oasis Springs, and Strangerville, they don't tend to have the really, really cold weather like Brindleton Bay and I think it's Windenburg. What, those two are, like, really bad for cold weather. So, they don't have to really worry about that type of stuff. So Jax would probably, I imagine he would have been outside more. He wouldn't have cared so much about his room. His main room is, he has, like, one piece of workout equipment. He would do that. I imagine him to be the type that wakes up in the morning, gets ready, jumps on his exercise machine, and then goes outside and then spends most of his day out of his room. So I didn't personalize his room a whole extreme much, but that was the point, was to not personalize his room, because I didn't imagine that he would be the type that would be out there. With Jace, he does actually have some Asian background to him. I don't know if I gave that feel off any at all in his room, but I tried to, but I also tried to give, like, that little music section over there, because he is into music. I personally imagine him being more of, like, using the media mixer and also trying to sing more so than the guitars, but also I just sort of went with, like, he wants to sort of dabble in all different types of instruments. I didn't do the violin in there, but there actually is a violin in the house, but he doesn't have it. And also you can tell that I decided to put a computer out here because I decided that they're not going to have a computer in their individual rooms, which I do a lot, because I personally like having my computer in my room, so I think it's just a personal preference, but I decided this time I wasn't actually going to put a computer in every single room. Plus, a lot of these rooms, especially once I get to the other 4, which I should be on about right now, starting the first of the other 4, their rooms are smaller. Jace got lucky and got the bigger one. I'm imagining that he technically got here first and then talked to the others, and some of them already agreed, and then by the time Carrie came, she came shortly after, she started decorating the house. So, but anyway, Liam's is next. Liam is the actor, and I did include a huge giant mirror in his and a Mic stand, just because that's two things that you can use to practice. Acting, I gave him mostly grays, whites, and orange. And he has, I don't remember, because a little insight on this build. If you follow me on Twitter, I think I actually posted a small video of it. Was recording this build, completely finished it, and then realized I forgot to put hampers in, I think, 2 of the rooms. So, because I went to live mode, and I save quite a bit when I build, but it's when I get to actually decorating the rooms. Like, in the first process, when I'm, like, doing the outside of the build, I do, like, the outside of the build, and I save, I start doing the layouts, I save, and I save constantly when I'm on the outside of the build, and doing, like, the layouts and the lighting, and, because I always do the lighting first, just because I want to see the wallpaper colors and make sure that they're what I wanted them to be. And yeah, the shelving actually is different in his room now that I'm seeing that. But when I went to go put the hampers, I think it was the 2 girls' rooms, I forgot to put hampers in them. And I finished the recording was good, and I went back into build mode to grab the hampers. And then I went back into live mode, and I was going to save right after live mode, and my game froze. It was like it was stuck in some sort of dimension in between build mode and live mode. It was really weird. I'd never had that happen before, and I haven't had it happen since, but I lost the build completely, for the most part, except for the outside of it. So all the decorating, I had to redo. So, if I do play this household in Townie Life series, which I really think I'm going to, or if you ever see any screenshots of them, because the screenshots that I have are actually after I redid the build, so the screenshots may look a little bit different from the video, but for the most part, I got most of the stuff the same. The only things that are going to be maybe a little bit different is, like, the little tiny stuff, like these little tiny clutter options I put on his table. I also found a shelf sort of feature that I liked a whole lot better for his room, because it included some orange into the shelf. So a few things are different here and there, and it was either because they're little tiny details that when I was watching the video back that I didn't fully notice, or I wasn't as concerned about getting exactly the same, or it was something that later on I decided that this would have been better instead of what I did. So just be prepared when the screenshots come up, they are different. But back to Liam, he is sort of a very outgoing personality. Like, I didn't go detailed in his bedroom either. Partially, I'm gonna be honest, partially because when it comes to the guy sims, I don't know if I'm just really bad, and I've said this before, I just don't know if I'm really bad at decorating guy sims' rooms. Some of them I think I've done a decent job on, and then others I'm like, I'm not really sure about this. I will say once the other shelf is in, I like his room better. Like, the fact that a shelf made that big of a difference to me. But yeah, I like the other shelf better, and I did include, like, the exercise thing in his room. I don't remember if I put that back, though, now that I'm thinking about it. I think I did. I hope I did. He was one that would have, in my personality, would have wanted his bedroom to look interesting, and I think the orange gives it that sort of pop of interesting. He also really likes the color orange, so... But, because, like, if he has anyone over, he wants his room to be interesting enough that if he has a guest over, that it looks nice. But I don't think he was, like, as concerned with it either. So, yeah. And then, the 2 girls' room... Carrie's is going to be first. Again, Carrie was the one that I decided was sort of the main decorator of the house. I'm sure she asked input of the others on furniture and stuff like that, but she's sort of the main one who decorated it. So her room probably has the most decorations also inside of it. Hers and Dylan's probably the most, then maybe Jace's. Jace's doesn't look quite as much, partially because his is the biggest room, so it didn't fit a whole lot, versus like these guys, I'm fitting a whole more in a like the same amount or more into a smaller space. But Carrie, she likes contrasting colors quite a bit. Like, she really likes black. She thinks black's elegant, but she also likes her purples and her pinks. So that was sort of what I was trying to go for. I really like that lace piece that you can put on the end of the bed. I almost always have to size it down and then move it up one. You can't tell that it's been moved up one with the Control 9, but because it doesn't, you can't actually see that it's floating really unless you purposely try to get down on floor level. But it never fits on any of my beds. I don't know which bed it was originally made for custom content wise, but it's always too big for the rest of, like, all my beds, whether they're CC beds or normal EA beds. It doesn't fit on any of them, so I always have to size it, but I love it because it looks so pretty, and I thought it best fit her personality. And I also give her like a custom wardrobe looking like thing, and I use a cabinet. The cabinet doesn't 100% blend in with the closets that I chose, but to me it blended in enough, and you know, it looks like maybe it wasn't necessarily meant to be a part of the two closets that were there, but it was installed to try to be with them. And then I put the mirror down in between there. I really liked that idea. I have no idea if she can use the mirror. I haven't purposely tried to get her to use the mirror as of yet, now that I'm thinking about it. I have played in this house, and everything works just fine. There was one issue that I had when my game went in between that mode of being in between build and live mode, that Liam got stuck inside of Dylan's room. So in the version that I had to rebuild, I did move things around. It's the exact same things basically, but I moved it around so much that maybe he wouldn't get stuck in there. But it was more like he got randomly teleported and got stuck in there than actually walking and getting stuck in there. So that was like pretty sure a rare occurrence that happened. But otherwise, this household actually works really well. Even Dylan's room. Dylan's is the smallest room, and it is very cluttered. But I'm pretty sure I tested it, and she can get on both sides. And I will actually upload this build to the gallery. It obviously has a lot of custom content, though. But if you want at least the main structure of the build, or if you think you have at least some of the CC, or you know what CC you would decorate it as, you can feel free to download this build. And like I said in the beginning, I do still use some stuff that comes from the actual expansions. I don't use just CC, and that's because I actually like a lot of the stuff that comes from the EA expansions and like the games and things like that. And honestly, the curtains that I'm doing right now, I have a lot of CC curtains, but a lot of times they don't work out the way that I want them to. So I actually use more EA type curtains than I do CC curtains for the most part. Unless I'm trying to do something different, like down in the laundry section, I use those curtains to actually separate, make it look like, you know, they can pull the curtains back and close off the laundry section if they have guests. Now, obviously, this is Sims. It's not going to actually work that way. But in my head, that's what they do when they have, like, parties or they have guests over. They're like, whoop, shut the curtains. We don't want anyone seeing the laundry section. But anyway, the video should be getting very close to the end here. I'm going to let music play for the rest of it and for the screenshots. I hope that you enjoy this build. If so, please hit that lovely like button and subscribe to see future episodes and future builds and all that stuff going on my channel. Let me know down in the comments below which is your favorite part about this house, and do you want to see more CC builds? Do you mind seeing them, or do you still want me to stick to mainly just Maxis type builds? Let me know. Anyway, all of my stuff down in the description below, playlist, yeah, all that stuff. Go check those out down there, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the finishing part of Dylan's artsy dark room, and enjoy the screenshots as well. Bye bye!